Imagine waking one morning to the news that 8 of your fellow countrymen, former Navy personnel, have been sentenced to death in a foreign land. A chilling reality that has left a nation in shock. 8 Indian Navy veterans, men who once served their country with honor, now find themselves facing the ultimate penalty in Qatar. Their crime? Espionage. But the specific charges against these men remain shrouded in mystery, concealed from the public gaze. These men were not on vacation or visiting family. No, they were in Qatar for work, employed by Dahra Global, overseeing the induction of Italian submarines. A task they undertook diligently, a task that has now led them to this grim predicament. Let's not forget the 2 Qatari nationals also implicated in this case, including the CEO of Dahra Global. Their fate too hangs in the balance. But the focus of our story today is on the 8 Indian Navy veterans, their lives upended in the most drastic way. This unexpected verdict has left the Indian government and the entire nation in a state of disbelief and concern. What comes next? We can only wait and see. The charges against these men are shrouded in secrecy, adding to the mystery and tension of this case. Let's delve a bit deeper into the situation. The 8 Indian Navy veterans were working for Dahra Global, and their job involved overseeing the induction of Italian submarines. This fact alone raises questions. Why would former Navy personnel be involved in such an operation? The answer could potentially point towards charges of espionage. These charges, although not explicitly stated, have far-reaching implications. Espionage is considered one of the most serious crimes in international law. It's a charge that suggests betrayal, the giving away of confidential information that could jeopardize national security. The severity of the crime means that the penalties are also harsh. In this case, the ultimate punishment, a death sentence. It's a signal of how seriously the Qatari court takes these allegations. But what does this mean for the Indian government? The fact that these men were former Navy personnel puts the spotlight on India. The world will be watching how it responds to these charges, how it defends its citizens in a foreign land. It's a delicate situation that requires a careful balance between protecting its people and respecting international law. The charges also have implications for India's relationship with Qatar. The 2 nations have strong economic and defense ties, and a case like this could strain these bonds. The Indian government will have to navigate this diplomatically to maintain these crucial relationships. With such serious accusations, one can only imagine the intense pressure on the Indian government to take action. In the face of such a dire situation, the Indian government is exploring all possible avenues to save these men. The news of the death sentence sent shockwaves through the corridors of power, prompting an immediate and emphatic response. India, with a long-standing record of supporting its citizens facing the death sentence overseas, is standing firm. The Indian government, deeply troubled by the verdict, is preparing to challenge the death sentence in higher courts, exploring every legal option within its reach. A case like this is not simply a legal battle, it's a test of diplomacy, an intricate dance of international relations where every step counts. And so, India is also pursuing political and diplomatic channels, reaching out to Qatar, a nation with which it shares strong economic and defense ties. These ties, forged over years of mutual cooperation and shared goals, could be instrumental in this case. The Indian diaspora in Qatar, generally perceived as law-abiding, could also play a role in influencing the outcome. The Indian government is also supporting the families of the convicted men who have filed a mercy plea with the Emir of Qatar, hoping for a benevolent intervention. Every possible path is being walked, every conversation is being had, and every option is being explored in this high-stakes situation. The stakes are high, and the Indian government is leaving no stone unturned in its efforts to secure the release of these men. In the midst of despair, there is a glimmer of hope. As the shockwaves from the verdict continue to reverberate, the families of the 8 Indian Navy veterans have taken a step forward, filing a mercy plea with the Emir of Qatar. They have placed their trust in the hands of mercy, hoping for a compassionate consideration of their plea, but they are not alone in this fight. The Indian diaspora in Qatar, a community that is generally perceived as law-abiding, stands with them. These hard-working men and women have, over the years, contributed significantly to the Qatari economy and society, building bridges of understanding and cooperation between the two nations. This influence, this goodwill, could potentially sway the scales in favor of the 8 men. The plea for mercy, the support of the diaspora, the diplomatic efforts of the Indian government, all these elements come together, creating a beacon of hope in a time of uncertainty. The hope that the lives of these 8 men will be spared, that they will be given a chance to prove their innocence, and that their families back home in India can breathe a sigh of relief. As we wait for the next chapter in this saga, we hope for a resolution that spares the lives of these 8 men and brings relief to their worried families back home.